Preview.
Hey, what's up guys? Colton, Lindsay, live inside of Mikasa on a Monday night, coming here at 8:39 p.m. I wanted to just hop on and share with you guys my temporary defeat. It seems like 2018 has been the fucking year of temporary defeat, and I'm so grateful for it because I was thinking about where the pain comes is where we're able to build our biggest strengths. Whenever I've had my biggest challenges, that's where I've grown the most. So thank you guys for hopping on. James, Anthony, do me a favor to scroll up whether you're watching live or replay and turn on your notifications and subscribe for when I go live. Hit that share button. And for anyone who's watching live, drop an L. If you're watching the replay, I'd love to know as well. Put an R in the replay. Thanks for being here. So let me just share with you a little bit about the story so you know what you're talking about. For those of you guys don't know Danny Morell, you should know Danny Morell. Click on his name, follow him on Instagram. He's doing some awesome stuff. He's doing an event, relentless event here in next July. I think it's 24th to 26th. And he's got Kobe Bryant speaking as the main speaker. Last year he had Alex Rodriguez, Rob Dyrdek, who else? He had Ed Milet, which is a whole other story in itself that I'm going to talk to you guys about on this live stream today. Because one thing I have found is that the more I share my experiences, my journey, not just the successes, because for those of you that have followed me, have seen my peaks along the way. For those that have also seen, I've shared with you my temporary defeats. And I love them to be temporary defeats instead of failures, because it's the temporary defeats that we have the opportunity to make a choice. Do we stand up? Do we get up and we move forward? Or do we just let our ass crawl into bed, put the covers over top of our face, and cry? We have that choice. So today, had it all planned out, flying out to Ontario, California, and I was going to land about 9:50, 10 o'clock, get an Uber, meet over at Danny's office, and go on to his podcast, which just, if you think about the opportunity to be invited out, to be with him in his studio, is freaking an amazing blessing in itself, because that guy is such a high achiever, a high performer, to see what he's done with his business. And to be able to spend some time with him and to be interviewed on his podcast, I was super excited, super stoked. So as we leave there, I remember I was talking to his assistant to say, hey, if I land at this time, will everything be able to work out? And where everyone was like, yeah, everything will work out, assuming we don't have some major delay, okay? So as we are landing into, and we're coming into Ontario, we start to hear about the winds in these, I guess it's the southern part of California there, kind of by San Bernardino, Rancho Cucamonga, wherever that all is, Orange County, Ontario. And I mean, to me, I didn't know how windy it was, but I remember we were coming in, we could just literally see from up above, I don't know how we're coming in 10,000 feet or whatever, just storms of dust just blowing. And I was like, all right, we're going to make it. We got it this far. We're going to be okay. And as we start to come down and land, the plane just starts going like this. And I'm texting Danny's assistant the whole time. And as I'm landing, the plane's going like this. And then all of a sudden, I was like, I hadn't felt like this nervous in an airplane since I was flying from Beijing to Bangkok, probably about 8 years ago or something like that. And my heart was kind of like, breathe through this. We're going to be okay. We're not going to crash, I hope, right? And then all of a sudden, the pilot just goes and just starts gaining altitude. Actually, you can text while you're flying, Scott. iMessage is free on all Delta flights, so that's another reason to fly Delta. But as he just takes off and it just starts flying, we start circling the airport again, and I was like, all right, maybe we'll get another run at this. And then they come on over the intercom, and then they say, unfortunately, we're unable to land here in Ontario, so we're going to be heading about 15 minutes over here to land in Palm Springs. So my flight ends up landing about 10:30 in Palm Springs, California versus Ontario, California, and I'm supposed to be on the podcast at 11 a.m. So no matter which way I flipped the coin, I was not going to make the podcast at 11 a.m. And the camera guy is only there till noon, and Danny's booked up. So pretty much I get to Palm Springs, and by the time Delta gets things figured out, they put me on a flight to fly straight back from Palm Springs here to Salt Lake, back home. And that was actually the third attempt to be on Danny Morell's podcast, and I have yet to make it on his podcast. Second attempt was back in August. I had it scheduled to go out there to Danny's to hang out with Danny and to be on his podcast as well. Hey, Lauren, it's totally okay. Lauren works with Danny's office, and don't feel bad that I didn't make it there. It's all part of the journey. It's all working for us. I'm actually really grateful for it because I know that we're going to get together. We're going to be on the podcast. We're going to meet, and it's going to be awesome in the future, and it's going to be perfect. It's going to be huge. Did a little Donald Trump there. But the second time is we had to cancel, reschedule because Danny had some personal stuff going on with his life, and that was in August. And the first time that I was actually trying to get scheduled, I was kind of delaying with Lauren, his assistant, and that's right when my wife had filed for divorce. So it's like 3 temporary defeats. And for some of you guys, maybe to get on Danny's podcast, maybe might not seem like that big of a deal for you, but I actually literally used it as a learning ability, right? I thought about this because at first when I got back on the flight and I was flying home from Palm Springs to Salt Lake, the voice goes off in my head, damn it, you just wasted a whole day of productivity, you didn't get anything done, and I just went straight to a meditation for the next 2 hours, and some of the thoughts were coming up was literally like, I just want to go home and get to bed. And just like pretend like today didn't happen. And these are literally the thoughts that pop up in our minds sometimes as entrepreneurs and as humans as we face temporary defeat. So how often is it that you face temporary defeat in your life? But then I thought about, well, you know what? I couldn't fly in today. It didn't happen, and it's a bummer for everyone, but I have some choices at this point. Do I complain? Do I act like a little bitch? Do I whine? I mean, I think I was between flying me and Mickey out there was like $900. I blew a whole day of productivity, messed up Danny's schedule somewhat because it was supposed to be a live podcast as well. And so, but it's not my fault. It's not Danny's fault. It's not anyone's fault, but I still have the opportunity to choose how I'm going to react to this emotionally and mentally. In other parts of my life, I think about this. It's the first choice that I had was just quit. Was just let the day beat me up. And then I said, no, what can I do? So I started to meditate, and then I pulled out my journal and I did my RPMs. I said, okay, well, what time am I going to get back home? Map that out, probably land about 3:30, 4 o'clock. What can I accomplish between now and the end of the day? And as BC said, don't be a little bitch. Being a little bitch is not allowed. That's absolutely right. It's not allowed to be a little bitch, but we have to make that choice. We have to rip it open, to be the gladiator, to make the decision, my life, my show, my reality, and still be okay with the outcome after everything we put into it. The outcome was, it's not my cards to be on Danny's podcast today. That's just part of it. I can't do anything about it. But as I move forward, I look about between the time that I landed and the time that I got here, and what could I do the rest of the day to turn it into something great? So I whipped out my RPMs, and the very first thing I looked at is, what's my number one value as a human? What do I want to create as an outcome every single day as a person? And it's health and vitality. I said, okay, so I can focus on my nutrition, I can eat a bunch of broccoli, and I can go have a killer exercise. And as soon as I land, great friend of mine, Rob Andre, who's Mr. Utah, he's freaking stacked, awesome dude, says, hey, dude, you want to go to the gym? So now I get to go train at the gym with Mr. Utah. So there's an opportunity there. Then I started to look at, well, what can I focus on with the business that I probably wouldn't have been able to focus on otherwise? So then I started focusing on the WGR Academy and the WGR sales business and how we can grow that and we can launch that. But the moral of the story is, I don't want to tell you what the outcomes came from. I want to tell you is, I had to focus on the outcomes. I had to refocus my mind on something besides the temporary defeat. And how often does that temporary defeat show up in your life? I mean, today I was planning on being on a podcast, and I was literally this close to landing at the airport, and the wind was too strong, and I was flown. And just 15 minutes over by airplane threw off the entire day. 15 minutes threw off the entire day. Wasn't able to do it. But how often is it that a contract falls apart, or a deal falls apart, or we have a medical issue, or we have a marital issue, or we have a flat tire, or we have a mechanical issue, or we have that unexpected shit that comes in our lives and throws us off course just a little bit. To go from point A to point Z will not be a straight line. The question is how quickly am I going to get up? How quickly am I going to get up and get refocused? That's what I want you guys to take away from this. That's what I took away from it. Then I started thinking about, well, what are the strategies that I use in order to get back up extremely quickly and be able to share them with you guys, so hopefully you guys can apply them in your life. Number one is, it's acknowledging that it's 90% psychological. My success and fulfillment, both of these are together, is fulfillment and success go hand in hand. Our greatest failure is to have success without the fulfillment side, right? Because I could be really depressed or upset or bummed or angry or full of just negative energy right now. Or I can let it go. How many of you guys watching, live or recorded, are in that Rancho Cucamonga or that eastern part of LA, that southeastern part of LA? What were the winds like while you were there? I thought our plane was gonna crash. It was crazy. But here's the steps that I take. Number one is RPMs on a daily basis. And it really breaks into two parts. One is to do preventative care, preventatively constantly work on my mindset and my state of emotions. But then the other one is to actually deal with that mental challenge and that emotional challenge in the moment. Okay, so here's what I do on a daily basis. Number one is I daily meditate and do breath work every single day, every morning for at least 30 to 45 minutes every single morning. And I really focus on getting that state of peace and tranquility with the idea that I am the eye of the storm. I remain calm, cool, and centered no matter what is going on around me. Okay, so the old Colton years ago, when where planes going like this and flapping all around and not quite landing at the airport to be on a freaking huge podcast that I was so stoked to be on, and with a really cool person, I would have panicked and freaked out and been a little upset. But I was able to stay calm, cool, and collect through it. So I was really stoked about that. But that's because I daily did the preventative care. The other thing that I do is I write my RPMs out. And the RPMs are where I come up with outcomes I want to create through my life. Time equals emotion. It does not equal money, ladies and gentlemen. How often have you been fed the lie that time equals money? And it actually does not. Time equals emotion. Because whether you got a lot of money or whether you got no money, you're experiencing an emotion. So what emotion do you want to experience? And how can you create that emotion quickly? So we identify what those outcomes are. We identify why those outcomes are important to us. And then we identify the key massive actions that we can take by admitting and getting authentic with where we are. Well, here we are. The truth is, I must accept that I'm on a plane back from Palm Springs, California, which literally was like a 2-hour flight there, 2-hour flight back. So I'm flying 4 hours today of turbulence straight and felt like I accomplished nothing. That's the reality. I'm accepting that. But I don't have to stay there. So what can I do to create a win for the rest of the day? And once I understand what is that new game that I'm creating, act on that game. So I had two choices at the end of this. Number one, rip it open, create a new game, create a new challenge, create a new way to go win, or I can pretty much be angry and upset and be a little bitch. Those are the choices, but it's my choice. Where does that apply in your life? I want you to think about that. Where has something not gone your way that was not part of the plan, that threw you off course, that gave you the choice whether to rip it open or to complain? It's the ability to choose to rip it open over and over again, even in the face of temporary defeat, that will separate our fulfillment with success versus failure permanently. Because failure is one option, success is an option, and success with fulfillment is another option. Too often I see people just failing because they don't get back up. Too often I see people succeeding but they don't enjoy the journey. And now the space that I choose to be in, and that I hope you guys choose to be in as well, is the success plus the fulfillment. But part of the fulfillment comes from, like Gary Vaynerchuk talks about, falling in love with the dick shit, the shit dick, the crap, the process, the bullshit that comes our way. Literally, I remember Gary stood up on stage and he says, you've got to eat shit dick every single day in order to create what you want to create. And that's, today I ate a bunch of shit dick and I'm so grateful for it. And I'm so thankful that I'm able to learn what is the outcome that I can create from this. The other thing I can do is I can take some responsibility. I could have flown in last night, right? I chose to book that flight at that time frame. I chose to fly with Delta. I chose to do it on that day. I could have literally chose 2 weeks from now, been on Danny's calendar from 2 weeks from now. Maybe the weather was different. I could have flown in last night and got an Airbnb or a hotel and made sure that I was there on time. I have to take responsibility for the choices. So Manuel said, I would have been like a little bitch on the plane. Sounds like the flight was scary. You know what? The flight was actually not as scary as I probably would have thought it was. That's only because I had gone on a flight from Beijing to Bangkok several years ago that I literally thought was the end of my life. That day I thought I was going to die, but somehow I survived. So this was a smoother type turbulence instead of just a rocky type turbulence. But I remember as we were coming down and I was looking down what is that called? The tunnel or whatever of the plane. And I was like, man, I've never seen the plane move like that before. It's like we're in some really serious wind. And you look over and just see the dust storm blowing through everything. It's like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't be landing. And so one of the blessings of it is I'd rather land safely in Palm Springs than not land at all or land in a crash landing. So there is some gratitude there that we have pilots that are skilled enough to identify maybe we shouldn't be landing in this type of weather. And we weren't the only plane that couldn't land. No plane was landing during that time frame. So there was literally zero control that we had over that situation. That just goes to show how little control we really have in our life. But one thing we do control is how do we react to each and every situation. So third strike so far, but I'm thankful that this isn't baseball, so I should get another at bat. I'm going to connect with Danny's team over there and find a new time to schedule. And let's pray that it's not windy when I go out on that next flight. So appreciate you guys watching. Make sure to like, comment, and share. And I'd love to know what I can do to help serve you guys, create even more value. I think ultimately, though, for me, it's just sharing my journey. What I've learned is what crap that I go through along the way, which is really the awesome parts. It's not like this is not. Like, had this not happened, I wouldn't have this story to share. If everything went smooth and awesome, that's cool. I would have been on the podcast. I would have shared some awesome stuff, and it would have been cool. But now I get another awesome thing to share. I get to share about temporary defeat. I get to share about taking responsibility. I get to share about how strong our mindset and our psychology has to be through the temporary defeat. I get to share some strategies and techniques that I use in order to process through. And I know that it helps you guys because I literally get messages on the daily now about situations y'all are going through, from your challenges with opiate use, drug use, with alcohol use, with some of you people going through divorce, going through breakups, going through business challenges, going through financial challenges, going through whatever challenge that you're going through. I know y'all going through challenge. And I love what came from a good friend of mine, George Morris. He owns Century 21 Everest Group, and I think it's Century 21 True in California, has 1,100 agents, extremely successful businessman and business owner. He said, Colton, he said, if you can treat people with the fact that the idea that they are probably going through the biggest challenge of their life, you'll be right 50% of the time. So I know you guys watching live or recorded, a lot of y'all going through some challenges in your life. You are, and it's okay. You're in the right spot because it's in those challenges, it's in those pain, it's in those difficult times where you are stretched, where you are molded, where you have the opportunity to rip open from your core the love and the light and the truth and the awesomeness that resides inside of you. But if you're always floating on cloud 9, you never get the dichotomy of being in the deepest shithole in order to compare it to. You got to know dark in order to know light. So trust me, for those of you guys that are in the light right now and you're loving it and you're doing awesome, ride that wave with so much gratitude because you won't stay there forever. You are in a mortal existence, and none of y'all are getting out of here alive. None of us are getting out of this life alive, no matter which way we try it, right? But for those of you guys that are in the other side of the dichotomy that's not so fun, the darkness, the challenge, the temporary defeat, the financial challenge, the physical challenge, the health challenge, the mental challenge, the relationship challenge, whatever it is that you're going through, that's okay. You're right where you're supposed to be, and trust me, just keep moving forward and don't forget to breathe, because this experience right now is here to serve us. It's here to teach us. It's here to allow us to grow. It's allow us to contribute, to allow us to be our absolute best self. Fall in love with that darkness, because when you can fall in love with the darkness, that's where the brightest and most amazing light and love and truth is found. Thank you all for being here. Click that like, comment, and share button. And anyone that is interested, I want you to go check out Fearless Agent, ultimate real estate coaching and training platform out there. I love it. Totally endorse and support it. If you guys want to send us referrals to Utah, the WJR brand here in Utah, we'd appreciate that as well. And then check out prospectingalliance.com. That's my own program where we help you guys grow your network and grow your business today. Thanks, guys. We'll see you later.